Hello, everybody, and welcome to April the 8th, regular Legislative Committee meeting of the Town of Vegreville. I call this meeting to order at 3 o'clock. Okay, first off, I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Berry makes the motion. Hopefully there's no more additions. Any deletions? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Next, I'll need a motion to adopt the minutes of our last regular Ledge meeting. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Is there any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. First up, CAO Ling.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to take a moment and introduce council and the public watching to our new legislative administrative assistant, and that is Juanita Brunet.
Well, hello and welcome.
Hi, back.
I think you already know some members of council.
I do, yes.
And how has things been since you started?
It's been great, actually. Learning.
It'll get worse.
Well, every day's a new day.
Yes,
I
true.
get to learn something new, and everyone's been very welcoming, so.
Any questions?
Welcome back. Thank you.
Well, you know, you work directly in our department, the legislative department. It's one of the toughest departments there is. I'd actually say one of the toughest departments.
Yes, there's lots to learn for sure.
Yes, well,
Difficult people, too.
yeah, there is. It can get a little difficult at times, but yeah. Okay, well, we look forward to working with you, so
Thank you.
welcome on board.
Thank you again.
Okay, next up, Dan Quigg. Manager Quigg, sorry.
Afternoon. So before I get into the budget stuff, I'll just give you a quick update of some of the stuff we've been doing the last couple months. We had 2 snow events in March, which you're probably all aware of. We've been busy with snow removal once on a weekend on the 27th, and after that we've been just doing catch basins and culverts, trying to maintain alleys. We've been in there cleaning snow out of alleys, and we're now to the stage where we have a vac truck in there clearing out water in alleys to help them dry up faster. As well, at this time, we're assessing alleys that are in bad condition so that we can address them once it warms up, because we can't get in there right now while it's so muddy.
That last dump of snow didn't help. That was a lot of moisture.
We were just about past it, and that one held everything right in there.
Go ahead.
Just because you've mentioned alleys, and of course that's come up for a few of us in our conversations with public and our own experiences too. Can you maybe just explain what the process is for the town in terms of triaging which alleys need to be addressed and what our process is for maintaining them? Because obviously they're not top of mind for most people until this time of year.
Yeah, throughout the winter, we try to keep the snow out of them as much as we can, so in the spring we don't have as much issues, but we do that as a basis as we can get in there. In the spring, we like to get in there, as I said, and get the water out and assess them for really muddy conditions and the condition of, is there enough gravel in them? Are they just big potholes? Do we need to strip it out and restart from the base up? So that's the stage we're at right now, is assessing the ones that we're getting the most calls on. So we start a sheet and just go out and assess them as we need, and the crews are out doing that right now.
Okay.
Street sweeping, the street sweeper came in last week. We've gone through orientation. We wanted to get going today, but with the rain, we will probably try and get going tomorrow, and then as well as pothole filling. We've also purchased our push camera that was budgeted for $22,000. It came in at $19,800, which has come in very handy in the last little while. And a little update on the landfill shop. We poured the concrete floor January 30th. It is now cured and ready to use. Cameras for security purposes have been quoted for an upgrade to the landfill system. They will be installed when they come in. We also have to put some skirting on the outside of it and in the inside of it. Once that comes in and it dries up there, we will get that installed, and we have a bunch of dirt work to do out there to get it, so we can access it easier without mud in, mud out conditions.
Is the plan to pour an apron at
Yes,
some point?
and pour an apron out front on the east side of it, a 40 by 50 apron. This, whenever we can get it dried up and get Ben Loan out there. Yeah.
Excellent. Any questions on that new building, the landfill? Okay.
Okay, for the budgeted items, first one is the CRF sand seal. This extends the roadway life by 5 to 10 years, budget of 70,000. We are evaluating roads and have picked 58th Ave from Birch all the way to 50th Street as one of them. We still have to find a few more, but that is a fairly big chunk right there. Next up is refurbishing manholes. This extends lifespan of manholes by 50 years, a budget for 40,000. We have evaluated manholes and come up with 49, 25, 51st Ave as one, 48, 38, 49th Ave is another, 50th, or 50, 14, 46th Ave is another one, and 51st Ave beside New Alberta is another. So these are just ones with cinder blocks and rings in them that are letting water in, that will seal up and give them more life. Next up is replace 2 manholes. The ones that are end of life for 60,000. We have the following to replace on 49 8th Street, cul-de-sac south of 49 or 59th Ave, and the intersection of 48 8th Street and 52nd Ave. And we will be getting quotes from local contractors right away for that. And next up is the sewer lining program to expand the lifespan of the sewer infrastructure by 50 years for 100,000. We look to line 49 8th Street from 57th Ave all the way up to 59th Ave, which is approximately 280 meters. And then we are still in the process of televising more lines to find suitable candidates, but we've been having issues with our crawler camera to get doing that, so. And lastly is sewer main calcification removal for 50,000. We are in the process of televising lines to give to the contractor so they can get out here to complete this job so that we can possibly reline where they clean.
Okay, so, Manager Quick, so when we're finished the sewer main with the cameras for the decalification, or we don't know what the next part of the lining will be yet, or we don't know where we're gonna go yet?
Well, last year we did 49 8th Street with the calcification. That's why we're gonna reline this year and replace a manhole in that stretch, so we can keep everything
Yep. I
the
get it,
same.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Did all that work, you might as well get that lining in there while it's still good, yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, well, that was an easy one for you, Manager Quigg.
Thank you.
So, just so our residents know, Manager Quigg, if they feel that their alley is a good candidate for some work, and should they just reach out and leave a message for you, or how would you like that done?
Yes, they could just phone and talk to us and let us come and assess it for them, and then we'll go from there with figuring out what it needs, if it needs to, be stripped down and re-gravelled, or if it has holes to be dug out and filled with the cement to firm it up more, or whatnot.
And there's the online option to lodge complaints as well.
Okay, so either a call to Public Works, a message, or they can go online and leave a message there, or click on that they feel that their alley may be a candidate.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to understand that every alley in this town is completely wet right now.
Yeah.
It's just where we're at with that last snowstorm, so. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Manager Tentition.
Good afternoon. So I'll start with my department notes. So first up is our bale attachment for the landfill. That has been ordered. It has not come in yet. I don't have any date on it when it will be brought in. It was ordered through Webb's in town, so it's just waiting on them. They phoned and they updated me, and it is, the manufacturer does have it, so he's just waiting for them to ship it out to them so we can get it, so. Next up is the rubber tire backhoe for roads, and that one was budgeted for $275. That one is actually will be coming in about the second week of May. We will have it in our hands. It will be in Edmonton at the end of April, and by the time they PDI it and do whatever they have to do to it, it'll be a couple weeks before we get it. So by the middle of May, we should be seeing it and be able to use it, so.
Can I ask where it's coming from? Is it coming across the US border?
It was at one point, but there is no tariffs or nothing like that on it, because I contacted them, and John Deere said that there is no extra tariffs or anything added to it, so,
Okay, across the line
yes.
early.
Yep, so.
Excellent.
Next one is the half-ton trucks, and that's one for municipal services, and the other one is for parks. They have been ordered also through Veg Ford, and I'm hoping by what they say, we should be seeing them about the middle of June is when they should be landing. So we'll have them by July, should be up and ready to go.
And again, will be any tariffs applied to these?
No, not with them either.
Great. Perfect.
Next one is the ball beater at the VMRF. That has been purchased already. It just has not been installed yet. I'm just waiting to get it set up. That was estimated at $10,000. The budget was $10,000, and the cost today $8,757.15. And so it's sitting there. It just has to be installed and set up at the recycling center at present. So. Next is the sewer cleaning truck, and that is coming in. It actually should be here within, hopefully the end of this week is when the truck should be landing. And then it will be, orientation will follow the next week for it, so probably a couple weeks or so before we get it out on the road, by the time we do orientation and everything. And with that, we had it at, we did add a hot seat to it, whereas our other one didn't have that. So it just, when we had the hydrovac with the flusher and the hot seat on it, we found that the hot seat was very useful sometimes when we were doing it, so we added one on to the sewer cleaning truck also. So.
And we're on budget.
And we're on budget, yes. Next one is the street sweeper, which the manager Quig talked about. We received it already, and the orientation has been done. I have checked, and insurance and everything is put on it already, so it's all ready to go. As soon as Manager Quig feels the need, he can get it up and get it running. So it's in the shop at present. So. Next is the shop hot seat that has been purchased and installed at the shop already. It was budgeted at $25,000. It come in at $23,303.86, and that was with the extra wiring and everything else, because it's a little bit bigger than our old one was. So we had to upgrade the wiring from a 15 amp service to a 35 amp, to a 40 amp service. Sorry. So, but that's all been taken care of, and that's all included in the price at this. So. And the next one is the skid steer for roads. That has been purchased through Webb's in town. We already have it. They are using it at present. That one was budgeted for 90. It come in a little over budget at 93,500. And the reason for that is because we went with a bigger unit than what we first were quoted on. We were gonna get a unit that was 62 horsepower, but in talking to Manager Quig, he felt with our scraper pusher we have on the front of it for doing alleys. The old one was powering out and didn't have quite enough power when it got full. So we upgraded it to a 74 horsepower one, a little bigger, so it will handle pushing the extra weight with the scraper for the alleys, so. And like I said, that has been delivered, and that is, we are using it at present, so. And that is it for my budgetary. Just some more noteworthy stuff. The fire pumper is already, the body is being built and painted, and it's getting put on it. The pump has been installed already. So we're hoping that will be, I'm gonna say by the middle of July, we should be seeing it rolling in if things go good. So we should be expecting it sometime in that region, because it is, we get pictures every day. They keep sending us pictures of it being built and the progress being done on it, so. But it is being worked on and being built at present. The new waste truck, that compactor has been put on that already, and it is back in Calgary from Texas where the body got put on. So it's in Calgary right now, and they are just doing the PDI on it and adding the extra equipment like the camera system and the remote greasing and all that kind of stuff that they don't do that at the body supplier. It's done at Superior when it comes back to here. So they're putting all that kind of stuff on it. So we're expecting that to be here like next month, the middle of May, someplace in there. So we should be seeing that rolling in really soon also. The mowers for parks, the two new leased mowers, they're at Deerland at present, and they are getting PDIs put on them, and we're getting their lights installed, because we're getting signal lights installed on them and other stuff like that, just to make it a little more, because they are up and down the roads quite a bit, so that they can let the people know where they're turning and where they're going just by having signal lights on it. Our old ones didn't, they just had flashers, but it was an option that we saw this year, and I thought it was just for safety. It's a little nice option to have on it, so just to let everybody know what it's doing when it's going down the road. And then lastly, we hired an apprentice technician. His name is Darian Stinson. He has his schooling for the first year, HET, so he just needs his hours, and then he'll have HET, and then he'll have to go to school for a second year and get his second year hours after that. But his schooling in the first year has already been done. And he's been in since March 24th, sorry, and he's been doing really well. We're really happy with him so far, so it's been working out really good. And that's all I have at present.
Okay, regarding the new fire apparatus, the pumper,
Yes.
do you know who sets the legislation on the life expectancy of these units? Is it the federal government?
No, that's usually done like through the fire association is what kind of gives us the life on them, right? When we look at the FDIC and stuff like that, that's kind of who sets the lengths of the fire apparatus.
So it's becoming a bit of an issue within Alberta Munis and RMA. A lot of these firefighting equipment sit for long periods of time and are in very, very good shape. And the legislation or the rules and regulations set by these people, these trucks have to be replaced. What do you hear about that? Or like, because I had a caucus meeting with mid-sized mayors in Alberta the other day, and it is beginning to be quite a problem that they're getting rid of really good equipment, replacing it with $1 million piece, and there's nothing wrong, just the age of the vehicle. So what can you tell us about the pumper we're replacing today?
The one we're replacing actually, or the old one, the E1 that we're getting rid of, the pump isn't passing tests at this point. So that's one of the major reasons why we're getting rid of it. But what we have done with the new one is instead, on the old one, we had a 6,000 liter pump on it, 6,000 liters per minute. The new one is 5,000 liters. And the reason we did that is because when you put the bigger pump into it, as they get older, it's harder for the chassis to keep up because the test that goes through to test the pump is very rigorous on it, and it really puts a lot of strain on the cooling system and the transmission of the trucks, right? And that's what we're having the issues with on E1, is we cannot run for the time period we have to without the transmission overheating and some oil coming out of the vent, and the engine's heating up and we have to shut it down because we're gonna overheat the engine before we can pass the half an hour we need at full pumping status to pass it, to get the pump passed. So the new one, we went with a 5,000 liter. That way it won't put so much strain on the chassis when we're testing the pumps after. And with talking to Manager Newton and Fire Chief Foss, and the officers, we thought the 5,000 liter is gonna suffice what we have to do in our town anyway, so.
So what is the length of life? What is it, 15 years on a piece?
It's 20 years, is anything after 20 years, you have to test the pump every year. Up to 20 years, you can do it. They say, they recommend to do it every 5 years, just because that gives you a good guideline on how the pump is working and if it's deteriorating or not, right? But after 20 years, it has to be, to meet all the criteria, it has to be tested every year at that point and pass. And if it doesn't, then we can't use it for eternal intact for going inside buildings with that pumper, so.
Okay, I'll maybe get a little better handle on it from a couple of other mayors that we're talking about, because we're being, go ahead, Councillor Lemko.
Yeah, Your Worship, maybe this can be directed either to Manager Tim Tishin or Director Lefebvre. If I'm not mistaken, the underwriters lab are set the standard for what the truck should be able to do, what your fire hydrants can do, and we have to meet those standards, and if we don't, they're the ones that do the insurance. So those are the standards that are established, and if you can't meet those, your rating will not be suffice enough for insurance. So me as a homeowner, if the town doesn't do the standards high enough, I'll be paying more for insurance. That's in response times and all those things. I believe the last time we had underwriters here doing a test was back in 2000. But and those standards are for every fire department, every truck, and all those. They don't say Vegreville's this or Tofield's that, or that's the standard, and that's where that 20-year comes in. And you need to maintain the standard that they set, because they set the insurance premiums.
Okay, it was a big topic yesterday. The Mayor of Whitecourt said they're replacing 15-year-old units just because of the age of the vehicle. And but go ahead.
Yeah, the age of the vehicle, but like Manager Tishin was saying, it has to meet that pumping standard. And even though it's sitting there and doesn't have any miles on it, the fires that they go to and the training and all that does tax the pumps. And the pumps can't, and to fix a truck with the pumps and all that, you're looking at an extensive amount of money and downtimes to get it to a standard. And then a year later, you got to test it again. Testing's like $8,000 to $10,000, if not more now. That was back when I was chief, it was that. So that's why departments or towns budget to replace a unit every 20 years.
Okay, well, I'll talk to this Mayor Tom there about what he was talking about. Go ahead, Director Lefebvre.
Yeah, I just want to add in what the truck purchasing committee, if you will, has done this year. Just imagine if you had a truck, I'm just pulling numbers out of the sky. Let's say it's 450 horsepower and this truck's 450 horsepower. And for that truck at 450 horse to pull 6,000 liters per minute is right at its peak. And the day that it's new, that's what it hits, that's its rating, and that's what it has to hit for the rest of its life. So what these guys are doing is they're taking a pump of 5,000 liters per minute with that same horsepower engine, so it hits that target easier. So when we get to our 15 and 20-year tests, the thing's not absolutely flat out to pass its test, is what I'm saying. It should be easier. And then it buys the community more time if we can test it every couple of years till we get ready to purchase the next replacement truck. It should help us out. So outside of the ULC and the fire things we have to follow, what they've done is bought us some time and make it easier for the truck to pass its test. Which is, I think, the only move you could do right now anyway, with the legislation that's in place.
Will we be keeping the pumper here that we're replacing right now?
I haven't talked to Manager Newton about it. I know we're thinking of selling it, and, but I don't know what his plans are at present for sure, so.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Go ahead.
He's right there.
I think I know what you're talking about, though, in general, and it, not necessarily just with this, and I think you guys are obviously doing your due diligence to try and extend that, but I think in conversations we've had even with municipal leaders in the past, there's several different regulatory bodies, both maybe with emergency services, but in a number of other things, that the regulatory body is also usually the association of, or sometimes the supplier. So it sometimes is a case where it's very nice to set standards for something that you benefit when it has to be done. I mean, we had this exact same argument and, you know, not that long ago when we discussed certain rules with audits placed by the auditors, right? So this is the same thing. People who are in charge of it deciding that they set the rule and then there's nobody to advocate to. So, well, you guys appreciate that you're doing something to try and extend that. But there might need to be some more conversations, I think, potentially happen because things like these are base core emergency services. And there's not a lot of assistance when you take proportionately the costs when you consider a city versus these small municipalities. The truck doesn't become cheaper just because we're out here, and there's not a lot of help. So I think that's something that maybe really does need to be addressed more on the higher levels as to giving extra funding to the more rural, remote communities when it comes to emergency services.
Yeah, and my question is based on what I heard yesterday, and it's sort of new to the municipalities that these vehicles, based on the year of their make, they're pulling them out of the fleet, and they feel that if they're still passing the test. But I'll get more information and bring it back. So go ahead, Councillor Rudick.
I have a completely different question. Extended producer responsibility was supposed to come in on April 1st. I know that we've been working a little bit differently. How are those contract negotiations going? Some of that's not shareable, but are we going to be ready for the next phase? I see that on the website that they've changed it, not as phase 1, but now they've introduced a phase 1.5. Are we 1.5?
We are still in negotiation.
Okay. Because originally they said, or the province said that everybody would be ready to go by April 1st. I know that we were experiencing some challenges trying to figure out some of the recycling extended producer responsibility, for those that don't know the acronym. So I'm guessing.
We're not just like in negotiation once every 3 months. We're dealing with them regular. We had a meeting with them virtual and went through it step by step, what the issues are, and had them agree or explain why. And we went through the document where they were going to make the changes for us that we both had agreed on and send it back. So we're getting, we thought, much closer. Unfortunately, they then sent an agreement to CAO Ling to sign just to her, and it was the original document that had nothing to do with the negotiation we just went through. So we're back reaching out again and going, you know, when are you going to send the document back that we sat there and highlighted together, agreed to the changes. So we're waiting again for them to bring that back. So it could have been signed and looked after some time ago.
Okay.
On our end, we feel.
Okay. I'll look forward to hearing more about that then.
We are set up though with product care on the HSP part. We are good with that. That has all been signed, agreement and everything. So that was all signed before April 1st. So on that part of it, we are finished with that end of it with the agreement and stuff ready, so.
And HSP is
Hazardous Special Products, it's called now, yes.
just for the public.
Yeah. So,
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Manager Timpson.
thank you.
Next up, Tourism Coordinator, Michelle Gladys. Come on down.
Yep.
Good afternoon. Okay, so I'm just here with a memorandum to council regarding the Vegreville Tourism Advisory Board bylaw. So a little bit of background, the Vegreville Tourism Advisory Board has recently reviewed bylaw 04/2022. This bylaw was established by town council in accordance with section 145 of the Municipal Government Act to establish the structure, roles, and responsibility of the VTAB. On behalf of the board, administration is proposing the following amendments. All references to the Tourism, Recreation, and Culture Coordinator be revised to Tourism Coordinator. The Town Code of Conduct Policy referred to in section 5.3F be revised to the Town Code of Conduct Bylaw. All references to the Community Services Director be revised to Community Engagement and Economic Development Manager. And section 4.5 has been revised to state that a member will be disqualified after missing 3 consecutive meetings. This was previously stated as 3 meetings. If these amendments are accepted by council, draft XX 2025 Vegreville Tourism Advisory Board bylaw will be presented to council for all 3 readings, and bylaw 04/2022 will be repealed.
Okay, well, we look forward to, I think we've all read the policy behind this, so is there any questions right now for the tourism coordinator? We'll go with Councillor Bullock first.
Just wondering, are you having any struggles with having members for the board?
Not necessarily struggling, no. Just when we were reading through the bylaw, that one statement, it just seemed maybe not the best, because we only meet 8 times a year, and if you're allowed to miss 3 at any, like, it just seemed more like a better solution to have if they miss 3 in a row. That's more of a problem than missing 3 in general.
Okay, Councillor Warwick.
This, I'm sure, would not become a problem with you guys, but I know in one past board, they did insert with the consecutive regular scheduled meetings, and only because there was some subcommittees formed when they had some big events that had multiple meetings, and there was some debate back and forth whether that was constituted as a meeting or not. So just something for consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing that at council meeting. Looks like we're gonna go with option 1. I don't see anybody that's. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Manager of Community Engagement and Economic Development, SEED for short, Jamison Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. Today's memorandum to council is in regards to draft GOV 10XX Community Engagement Policy. The background on this is that the Town of Vegreville GOV 1004 Communication Policy, GOV 1005 Media Relations Policy, GOV 1007 Public Engagement Policy, and GOV 1011 Council Meeting Video Policy were scheduled for review. During the review process, it was decided to combine the policies to simplify access to key information on community engagement standards. This change enhances consistency and clarity for both staff and stakeholders. Some of the revisions included in the consolidation of these policies were transfer of responsibilities, specifically ownership of council meeting videos has been transitioned from the Legislative Services Department to the Community Engagement and Economic Development Department, which is currently overseeing the videography and live streaming. The terminology updates, titles have been revised for clarity and consistency across the organizations. Examples of this include the Communications Coordinator to the Community Engagement Coordinator, as well as the Strategic Services to Community Engagement Economic Development. And finally, the Public Engagement Framework update. The public engagement spectrum has been replaced with the Public Engagement Process Chart to provide a clearer framework. This new chart outlines the steps involved in engaging the public and offers examples of the appropriate engagement level based on the potential impact of decisions. The updated public engagement chart serves as a quick visual reference for selecting the right type of engagement. The revision enhance clarity, reduce confusion, and mitigate risks that could otherwise misrepresent the organization, ultimately strengthening trust between the town of Vegreville and its stakeholders. Should council approve the adoption of the draft GOV 10XX Community Engagement Policy, the current policies, GOV 1004 Communication Policy, GOV 1005 Media Relations Policy, GOV 1007 Public Engagement Policy, and GOV 1011 Council Meeting Video Policy would be rescinded. There are no financial implications to this process. The communication strategy, upon approval, the updated policy will be shared to the Town of Vegreville website. Managers will be responsible for communicating the updated policy to the department employees. And the options in front of you today. Option 1, Town Council may accept the proposed GOV 10XX Community Engagement Policy and approve the policy at the next council meeting, or Town Council may review the policy further and discuss the proposed policy at the next Legislative Committee meeting on April 22nd before approving the policy. Thank you.
What's your policy? What's your thoughts? Go ahead, Councilor Rudy.
I'm really happy to see that we've come to a point where we have reached maturity in some of our communications, so that dovetailing these together seems to make sense. I really like the graphic that you've made for the public engagement process, because I think it actually helps just with our recent engagement with the public, and just reminding us all of how and when we engage with the public and what exactly communication is intended to do. I wonder if this may not be something that would be helpful to share on our website at some point, because there's a couple things that came forward in some of the conversations that I've had at Alberta Munis and RMA spring gatherings with other municipal leaders. And two things that I wondered about in terms of our communicating with the public is the length of time that we store our videos of our meetings. Do we have that in our policy? I didn't look at that. Specific?
I believe it is listed in the policy. At one point, it was actually a very short window.
Yeah.
But as I see it, it's part of the public record, and YouTube doesn't actually have any data maximums. So our thought process is, why not let the videos live there in perpetuity, or until we've run out of capacity? Because again, it provides that clarity for maybe future councils, future residents to understand in video how council came to decisions that they've come to.
Thank you for clarifying that, because the question had come up. There are some councils actually from, I think it's Whitecourt, that they don't publicize any of their meetings at all. They do none online. And so they've come into some tension with the public about being informed, feeling uninformed, and all of that back and forth. And so they've just opted as a council that they do not provide online video transcripts or meetings. And there are others that we're talking about deleting them after a certain length of time. So I appreciate the fact that if it exists, it exists. One other thing that other municipalities talked about is any of our documents that we have online, that we date stamp them in some sense, so that allows for more clarity for people. So when they go back and take a look at a government website, for example, if it's evolving, they're able to see that it was updated as of April 8th, for example. So any of our things that somebody might print off or take a look at, that's a good way to be able to provide clarity to the public. And then the last thing that there was conversation about committees. So any of our public committees, and we just had a conversation about one of our public boards that people feel like they can't be a part of or they'd like to be a part of, to be able to list which public boards we have, public boards and committees, and who the members are and what the membership requirements are, or the parameters, with some sensitivity about who the members are. But if it's a public committee, that might allow for the public to be able to engage. So those are just a few things that popped up when I was reading this, as well as to say thank you for getting us to a point where we are mature enough in our communication to be able to reflect back and put some of the other policies together. So happy to see this.
Okay, does everybody agree, number one is probably the way we'll go with this? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Manager Newton.
Thank you, Worship. Before you today is draft MOS 20XX Enforcement Complaint Process Policy. The Town of Vegreville is committed to ensuring that enforcement services operate with efficiency, transparency, and accountability. A recognition of the need of the structured approach to managing complaints, administration has developed the draft enforcement complaint policy. This policy aims to standardize the response to complaints, delineate the types of issues in which the department will respond, and safeguard against the misuse of resources. There are no financial implications regarding this policy. Our communication strategy today is, once approved, the updated policy will be shared on the town website. Administration will inform all staff of the implementation. Options today: Town Council may accept the proposed policy and approve the policy at the next council meeting. Town Council may recommend amendments to the policy to be presented and discussed at the next Legislative Committee meeting on April 22nd, or Town Council may adopt not to adopt the enforcement complaint policy.
Okay, any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Manager Newton. One of the questions that come to mind, so is the well, I have a couple of questions. The volume of complaints coming in, is it gotten extreme in your opinion, and what the number might be?
The complaints have not necessarily got extreme. We respond to the complaints on a priority basis. However, though, we are finding more of a misuse of our time and our services. We do have complaints coming in from one neighbor complaining. It may be a valid complaint, it may not be a valid complaint, but we still have to investigate. Next thing you know, that neighbor's now calling back on the other neighbor. It goes back and forth.
Okay, next question is, now these complaints that come in, they're gonna be documented no matter what, even if they're not gonna be addressed? There's how many and who it was?
Yeah, we have that documentation already in place.
Okay, thanks.
So how do you think this is going to be able to cure the problem of one neighbor mad at the other one, and the other one retaliates?
If approved, there is a section in there regarding frivolous and vexatious complaints, and there's a process to go through that. So if we determine it's frivolous or vexatious, then we will not be responding to that complaint, and then we would advise them of that.
Okay. Sort of like the boy that cried wolf, though. What happens if there's a real wolf? Then what would happen?
It does address that in the policy as well, Your Worship. We will respond to all safety concerns regarding anything that is in contravention of a bylaw. If it's a matter of public safety, it is stated in there that we will respond.
Okay, and go ahead, Councillor Lemko.
Manager Newton, what do we have in place right now for dealing with complaints? Or is this policy going to cover the opportunity for an officer or a bylaw enforcement to have a standard of how things happen?
This is to streamline the standard. Right now, it's been word of mouth from officer to officer over the years, so everything's been passed on from supervisor to manager, and those supervisors and managers have changed tremendously in the last couple of years, so this is to hopefully streamline the process, so when the next person walks in the door, they have a better understanding of what's needed.
Good, excellent. So we'll be seeing this on Monday.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
No,
Go ahead.
it was just after fact. I definitely appreciate it having a standard and not being passed on, because we have also pushed back as a council on maybe feeling at times things were chosen whether they would be looked at or not. I guess the biggest thing, though, I still want to just express needs to be kept first and foremost is whether it is a retaliatory or any of the rest of it. If it's a bylaw violation, it's a bylaw violation. And so it may very well be that you have a difficult neighbor and the other guy's just now reporting something because of, but the fact is, like I've said before, if it's a bylaw, we enforce it. If it doesn't, we remove it. You know, I just don't want to see a situation where we can recognize that somebody is being very difficult, but that doesn't actually let somebody off of a bylaw infraction, even if it's not safety. So that's my only concern.
Good. Okay, then we'll see that. Thank you very much. Next up, CAO Ling. Got a few letters.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item is a letter from the Honorable Mike Ellis, Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services. And this letter will come down to Monday's meeting for a receive and file if you so wish. It says, "Dear Ms. Ling, thank you for your letter of March 13th, 2025 regarding request to withdraw from the Eastern Alberta Regional Policing Committee. I appreciate the opportunity to respond. The Police Amendment Act passed in December 2022 and the Police Amendment Act passed in December 2022 and includes measures that will increase transparency, accountability, and civilian involvement in policing. The legislation creates formal governance bodies for communities policed by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Alberta, giving them a mandatory role in setting policing priorities and performance goals that they did not previously have. The legislation in this area, which also includes the Police Governance Regulation and the Police Governance Ministerial Regulation, came into force on March 1st, 2025. The Act states that communities with a population under 15,000 with municipal RCMP contracts will be represented by regional governance bodies. It further explains that those communities can opt out and form their own municipal policing committees with the approval of the minister. I understand you wish to opt out of the Eastern Alberta Regional Policing Committee and form a municipal policing committee for the town of Vegreville. I acknowledge and support the town's request. The new municipal policing committee will be responsible to ensure alignment of its duties and function with Section 4, Subsection 2 of the Police Governance Regulation, and my ministry will work with you to ensure these standards are met. Please continue to keep my ministry's contract policing and policing oversight unit informed about your progress in this matter. The unit will be pleased to work with you as you establish your municipal policing committee, and they welcome any questions you may have. The Police Governance Ministerial Regulation states that a municipality may appoint between 3 and 7 members to a municipal policing committee. In the coming months, once the town's municipal appointments have been finalized, I may proceed with adding provincial appointees to your municipal policing committee. Ministry staff will be in touch with your office and/or the Vegreville Municipal Policing Committee when the provincial appointment process is initiated. The number of provincial appointees will depend on the municipal bylaw that describes the composition and size of the Vegreville Municipal Policing Committee. Thank you for everything you do to keep Alberta's communities safe and secure and for your commitment to excellence in civilian governance. I look forward to continuing our strong working relationship. Sincerely, Honorable Mike Ellis, Deputy Premier of Alberta, Minister of Safety and Emergency Services.
Okay, any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Rudick.
Minister Ellis tabled a bill yesterday in the legislature that allows for the creation of municipal police forces if this passes in a different way. So it would allow for the establishment of Minister Ellis says the RCMP would still be the official police service in the province if the bill should pass, and the government would opt to create a separate arm's length agency. So I'm curious, because this letter was dated April 1st and yesterday was April 7th, that obviously there's been a few changes over the last session of the legislature, and current session has some very different approaches to policing that we've seen over our lifetime. So just want to make sure that we're very aware of every step that we make here and what kind of resources we have available to us and what our steps will be implicating for us in the future, because obviously public safety is paramount to this council and to our administration to make sure that we work in concert with the RCMP, as they've been our local policing body for as long as any of us have been here. So I'm just cautious and concerned a little bit about some of the signaling for a different deployment of some of the sheriffs, for example, in this new policing system that they're describing.
So what do you think, they'd want their own policing committee too?
I think that's kind of what they've been setting up, so that's why they've been sending out, so that we set up our own policing committee so that we're prepared if we wanted to set up our own policing system.
So if you ever wanted to threaten to pull out of the agreement we have with Canada, you'd need your own police force and your own pension plan.
Well, that is definitely one tactic. I guess the other point would be is instead of spending millions of dollars of setting up a new system would be to actually invest in the existing system. So there's two ways to be able to slice that argument. So I understand that there is a bigger play for the province in terms of their positioning themselves in terms of advocating to the federal government. My concern is here in Vegreville, making sure that we have the assets and the resources that we need to protect our people that live here. So just cautioning and making sure that we're very aware of each step that we move.
But as it comes to this new policing commission, when will we start the process of opening up for names?
Well, the process is going to start here right away. So the next item on the agenda is the draft bylaw. So the topic is the draft XX 2025 Municipal Policing Committee bylaw. So in November 2024, Honorable Minister Mike Ellis informed Council by correspondence of the proclamation of the Police Amendment Act. This mandates that Alberta municipalities policed under Municipal Police Force, Municipal Police Service Agreement will be required to join a regional policing committee or with permission from the minister, create a municipal policing committee. Consensus of council was in favor of establishing a joint municipal policing committee or a municipal policing committee. On April 1st, 2025, Minister Ellis approved the Town of Vegreville's request to withdraw from the Eastern Alberta Regional Policing Committee and establish a municipal policing committee. In response to the news, administration has prepared the attached draft bylaw to establish our MPC. This bylaw has been drafted in accordance with the Police Act, the Police Governance Regulation, and the Police Governance Ministerial Regulation. Administration has also drafted the policy manual that will govern the MPC. While many components of these drafts are non-negotiable, administration is asking council to consider the following items before completing the readings for this bylaw. How many members should be appointed to the MPC? The MPC must consist of a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 7 members. The MPC should consist of members of council and members of the public. So would council be in favor of establishing member eligibility? For example, minimum 18 years of age, must be a Vegreville resident, etc. It's important to note each member must pass an enhanced security check. The province expects this process to take between 30 and 90 days once forms are submitted. A reminder that the minister may appoint a number of provincial members depending on how many members council appoints to the MPC. 1 provincial member to the committee if the council appoints 3 MPC members, or up to 2 provincial members if council appoints between 4 and 6 MPC members, or up to 3 provincial members if council appoints the maximum 7 MPC members. And should members be paid remuneration for this committee? And based on the workload expectations for members of the public at large, council may consider remuneration for meetings to incentivize recruitment and retention to the committee. And if council opts not to offer remuneration, how can the MPC emphasize the importance of attending meetings? Council may opt to incorporate consequences for consecutively missed meetings. Other committees may revoke membership, but given the comprehensive security checks and expectations of the MPC, replacing members at large may be a challenge. Once council has reached consensus of these considerations, administration will amend the draft bylaw and draft policy manual to reflect council's decision. The bylaw is expected to be presented to council at the April 28th, 2025 regular meeting for all 3 readings. Town council will appoint the necessary council members to the MPC at the May 12th regular council meeting. Regarding financial implications, all costs incurred by the MPC are the responsibility of the Town of Vegreville. Given that the Town of Vegreville has already passed the 2025 budget, all expenses incurred for this year will be unbudgeted. Administration has reached out to the Provincial Security Intelligence Office to confirm the expected cost of enhanced security checks. The Provincial Security Intelligence Office confirmed that the Government of Alberta will be paying for the cost of enhanced security checks during the initial rollout of this program. Future costs for new appointments will then be the responsibility of the municipality. As outlined in the draft policy manual, the chair of the MPC will be expected to prepare an annual budget proposal for council to present annually during the annual budget process. Communication. After the MPC bylaw receives all 3 readings, administration will notify the minister's contract policing and policing oversight unit of our progress. Administration will also advise for the public at large members by means council deems reasonable. All MPC meeting dates, agendas, and minutes will be available on the Town of Vegreville website. So the ask of council today is to review the considerations, discuss and provide consensus at the April 22nd Legislative Committee meeting before completing all 3 readings at the 28th regular council meeting. At the April 28th regular council meeting.
So I guess we would start with the question on voting members.
Yes. Excuse me, yes. And realizing that the bylaw and the draft bylaw and the draft policy manual are in here. If council wishes to take time to read it and discuss this at the next ledge, that is fine. We've included that in our timelines.
Any thoughts on how many members should be on this committee? Go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. I'm guessing that if the ministers or ministerial people are appointed, that would be outside of said number. So if we have 4 and they appoint 2, our committee is now 6. If we have 7 and they appoint 3, it's now.
That is correct. And basically what it comes down to is it sounds like for every 3 members on the Municipal Policing Committee, the province reserves the right to insert 1 provincial member. So if you have 7, they will put 3 on.
And would they be held to the missing of the consecutive meetings?
I would think that because they are appointed by the minister, they come with a different set of.
Oh, they wouldn't have to follow what we put into it, would they? Oh. Well, that's different. The other thing is too the remuneration too. I guess the bylaw is drafting that right now, but I was going through it. It seems a contradictory part where it says no remuneration and then below it says you could get remuneration.
Yes, that's kind of just in there as placeholders for administration to remember to put it in as well. But yeah, it'll be up to council to what they decide if they would want any remuneration. Again, public members, this is quite a different committee. There will be work that has to be done. And unfortunately, if council has the ability to appoint all 7 of you as the committee, and that's part of why the minister holds on that right to put a provincial member on to ensure that the regulations and everything are being followed. The mayor, the chief elected official, can never sit as chair or vice chair of this committee.
That's a good thing.
So there is going to be, if you do have public members on, or public members at large on this committee, and eventually they rotate their way into the chair or the vice chair position, and this goes for all members of this committee. This is a working committee. It's not a committee where you show up, sit through the meeting, and go home. You will be expected to do some homework and do some research and do some stuff as well. So it's going to be up to council whether or not they would like to pay the members at large.
Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Following on Councillor Curtis's questions, when they appoint 2 or 3, it seems that it makes it an even number. Are they voting? Because all of a sudden you have a 6 or a 10, which committees usually should have odd numbers so you don't have ties. So are they advisory or are they voting members, the ones from the provincial?
At this point, I'm not exactly sure if they are voting or not. However, the bylaw is written with saying that the chair cannot vote. So that takes away
Okay. That would,
even.
I hadn't real, yeah.
Yeah.
So the part on that, which comes on that as well as then is, when asked, should they be Vegreville residents, we had discussed to some extent whether or not we should have county representation or Mundare representation, or do we want to keep this strictly as Vegreville resident representation?
That
That's
is a
the question.
that is a decision of council. However, I would caution putting another elected official from a surrounding community on the board, as they would not necessarily be considered public at large.
Yep.
They would be considered from the provincial policing, the provincial police, I can't remember the name of it. Now, the main board that covers all the municipalities 5,000 and under. And as we were informed by Minister Ellis
Right.
beforehand, you're not allowed to do that, because then that makes a joint municipal policing committee.
So to follow up on that, if I can, it probably would be advisable for us to only appoint Vegreville town residents to this committee, but we could always invite guests, I would imagine, if we wanted opinions from outside of our actual area, because of the detachment covers a larger area than just in town. I don't imagine there'd be any reason that you couldn't get advisory information from that. And on the remuneration, I would think that it would be appropriate to offer some sort of a remuneration to a public member if they're going to come and sit on a working committee. So those are my thoughts at the moment.
Okay, so what do you guys think about 6 members overall? That would be 4 from council. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that based upon the way their numbers set up, in order to maximize or minimize their input, quite frankly, 6 is the only number, especially when you're taking away one potentially voting person. I do think we will maybe, if the time frame does allow it, some time to think around how the structure should set up a little bit. There's a lot of different things for consideration, like you said, potential of having guests in, potential of whether other members, I typically always like members at large. However, this could be a scenario where we really have to actually look at what happens with the province's voting numbers, or we could very much be in a scenario where we're being responsible for all of the policing without having ability to have much control on our board. So I think it might be worthwhile for us to spend that time to look at a few of the different scenarios, as well as consideration for if it is Vegreville residents, or if it can as well be a Vegreville business owners, or, you know, a few different categories.
Well, we gotta move along quite quickly here, though. I mean, we gotta have this board in place. So you have an answer for this? Go ahead, if you can fix it.
Yeah, I don't know if I have an answer. Are there other, so this is the pickle, that the turnaround is really quick. This is one of the committees that has potential far-reaching impacts. Other committees would be advisory boards that we have on our list of responsibilities that we have as council. And so this one potentially has a little bit more gravitas, a little bit more seriousness of what it means to us as a impact to the community, and a dollar impact as well as a municipality. I'd be curious to know who else is experiencing this process right now. Are there other municipalities that you're able to workshop this a bit with, or be able to talk? Because I know that when they initially had the webinars and they had the folks that were in public safety doing that webinar, that there was an offer to be able to reach out and ask questions. However, as helpful as that might be for administration, is there a way to be able to talk amongst yourselves, to be able to allocate, like business community member, resident, et cetera, and try to typecast who we're looking for?
Okay, there's
several questions
There
in
were
there.
several questions in there. To go back to other municipalities that are currently working through this, we do have ones that are reaching out to us, asking us what we're doing. So this is all it's all very brand new, still in its infancy. Again, one of the reasons we worked into our time frame is that it can come back to the next ledge, is some of these questions we can potentially try and find out. Like we can contact somebody at the minister's office and say like, are these provincial members voting members? They may very well be put on the committee to ensure that we're following the regulations and we're not overstepping and we're doing our job properly versus being there to change the priorities that the community sets out. So we can gather the more information or the more questions you have, the more information we can gather for you so you can make a more informed decision next ledge.
Okay, so we all agree that we'd like to see 6 on this committee?
6 is good.
The members at large would receive a remuneration? Yes, no, what do you say? Well, I'm looking for a yes or no.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
There's 2 questions answered. So the members at large would receive a remuneration because we don't do that in our council. We don't get paid for meetings. So there will be 4 council members. Who picks the members at large?
Currently, a lot of the communities are taking applications.
Okay.
So
was answered.
it is something we would put out and advertise for and to see who has the interest because there is that enhanced security check that they do have to pass. So it's one thing for us to think of somebody who'd be fantastic for them to turn around and say, I will never pass. So we'll leave
You
it.
might want to start advertising.
Unfortunately, we have to wait till the bylaws passed.
So if we are going to be advertising, so this is the part that kind of feeds back to my previous comment about boards and committees on our website to be able to say what positions we have available. This is one that's a little bit more specific skill set. So I would assume that most people have to apply with a resume and the knowledge that they need to be able to pass an enhanced security check, which in essence isn't that difficult, but not everybody can. It would be important to this committee. Then who's deciding?
Ultimately, council makes that decision on who is, once the resumes are gathered, you guys would review them. And it's council as a whole, not just the members on the committee, it's council as a whole that makes that decision, just like you appoint to any other board.
Okay, so I would suggest that probably, obviously, that's going to be done in a separate workshop at some point, but we would probably want to have some skill matrix or what we're deciding who's representing what portion of the community or what kind of interests that they have to be part of this, not just somebody who's mad and had their catalytic converter ripped off their car or something. You know, we'll have to have a specific set of goals that we're trying to achieve by
Maybe a
having
certain skill set we may be looking for.
Yeah.
To work within the, yeah. Okay, so
figure that
moving
out.
forward, we'll advertise. We will find out, do the members at large have, which I would imagine, why would you be on a committee if you didn't have the opportunity to cast a vote? And what other questions did we have for Sandra to find out?
And the members at large would be able to vote. I'm going to look to see if the provincial members,
That's who's, the province is going to appoint somebody.
yes.
I would imagine the staff sergeant would be one.
Actually, in the bylaw, the committee also consists of the staff sergeant or it's called the officer in charge, because it may be delegated down. So the officer in charge, the CAO, the manager of protective services, and an administrative support person are all included in the
We're
meetings,
going to need a bigger room.
but they do not have voting power, so.
Okay.
So the other,
I think Councillor Berry had a question.
Well, I was just going to add to the fact that I would hope that the provincial representation that is put onto it don't have a vote, because to me, that would be the province trying to steer each of these little committees throughout the various regions. We were reluctant to be on the Northeast or the Eastern, whatever they call it now, because it was such a broad, and our voices might not be heard. So I'm hoping that they are advisors who are looking at that we're following the right rules and doing things correctly and not having a vote. Because then that would truly mean that our committee would be for our community,
Okay, Councillor Riddick.
Two other things have just popped up. So to your point, if the provincial members are selected outside of our control, are we able to reject one of their appointees? So that would be, well, I'm guessing, I guess I would be concerned I'm assuming that they have the best interests of Vegreville in mind, but we can't assume that, and I would, if we are making our diligent
So like if
choice.
they appoint Jason Kenny, where we could say no.
No.
So that would be a question that I would ask. And then the other part, I think maybe that would be important, especially if the chair is not a voting member in this meeting. I think we should expect maybe some board training or some chairing training, just to, not only for this committee, but also for whoever is going to be taking over this responsibility, because this has some seriousness that we want to make sure that we're able to provide. So that would be an ask separate from.
Sorry, what was that last part?
Maybe some, board training and some chairing training specific to being able to manage.
The chair doesn't get a vote. Obviously, the mayor can be on here, but they can't be the chair. Or the chair, or the mayor cannot, the position can't be a chair. Okay, so then we come down to, so is there 4 people jumping up and down to get on this committee? Because we could start there. You would like to? With your criminal background.
I think I can pass. I have to have fingerprints, though.
Undecided, I don't want to go through this.
Okay.
I would be willing to, but if somebody else wants to, I'm not.
Yeah.
But the mayor, no, that's fine.
I don't have to be on it.
I don't either.
So, Councillor Curtis, you can fit this into your schedule? Like, how often does it meet? 3 times a year?
You're testing my remembrance of
let's
the
ask
draft
Leslie.
bylaw. It's quarterly.
4 times a year.
Or as needed for business.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend if we were gonna meet at 10 a.m. or at 5 p.m.
Well, once the board is established, and then the terms of reference will be established after that.
Okay.
And,
I'm good till then. We'll see.
oh, no, you're in or you're out. You don't get a, half in, half out foot thing.
That's all I can give, so.
Okay.
I'm interested, but willing to arm wrestle with council.
Okay, so we have no clear answer for you there. We will get to it, but I think we have enough to move forward.
Yeah, and we can ask some questions that will hopefully clear.
Yeah, because I would imagine the provincial appointments, your schedule, staff sergeant's schedule, and these other, the meeting dates would have to be,
There's going to be a big push for during
Yes.
the day.
okay, so we got a few more problems to work out, but I think by next week we should get her done.
Yep.
Good.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, where are we at next? Counselor Calendar.
Nope, sorry,
Oh,
you passed over the council procedural bylaw.
on purpose, but. Hey, we can just, we can get through this. We got a lot to go here and,
Yep.
like you're slowing it down a bit, actually.
I apologize, Your
Thank you.
Worship. I'll try better. Okay, so up before you is a draft council procedural bylaw. And the background on this is in 2024, the Government of Alberta amended the Municipal Government Act by passing Bill 20, the Municipal Affairs Statute Amendment Act. Along the many changes affecting municipal governments, municipalities are now required to offer electronic option for public hearings on planning and development, and town council will be restricted from holding extra public hearings when not required by legislation. A bylaw providing this information must be in place by April 30th, 2025. To capture these amendments to the MGA, administration is recommending the following additions and revisions to the council procedural bylaw. That the definition of electronic communication has been changed to electronic means, and the definition is consistent with the MGA. All references to electronic communications within the bylaw have been revised to electronic means. The definition of meeting has been revised to include hearing as per the MGA. There's a new section 5.5 subsection A has been added in accordance with the MGA section 216.4 subsection 5.1 to restrict council from holding extra public hearings for the same bylaw or resolution. Council may hold only one public hearing on each proposed bylaw or resolution or any part thereof that considers residential developments or developments with residential and non-residential developments under Part 17 of the Act. Another new section is 25.3. It has been added to comply with the MGA Section 199 subsection 2.1. Any person may attend a public hearing under Part 17 of the Act by electronic means. Any person wishing to attend by electronic means must file a request to the CAO. Section 26.1 has been revised to allow council members to attend public hearings via electronic means. Administration is also recommending the following amendments to the council procedural bylaw to capture the changes within the organization since this bylaw was passed in 2022. The definition of senior management has updated to reflect the current members, and Community Services Director has been removed from Appendix 4. If approved, Bylaw 11/2022 of Council Procedure Bylaw will be repealed and replaced. Upon the communication, upon approval, this bylaw will be available on the Town of Vegreville website. Administration will ensure all members of council are aware of these changes. Further, members of Town Council will be trained on the Council Procedural Bylaw during mandatory council orientation. So the options are that Town Council approve the opposed amendments and move forward with all three readings at the next regular council meeting, or that Town Council ought to discuss the proposed amendments further at the next legislative committee meeting prior to moving forward with all three readings.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Warren.
Well, in general, I think we're going to be able to comply and it won't be a huge deal, thankfully for us, but we're ahead of the game. For the sake of time, I have no issues moving ahead with option one. However, I do think that this is once again a reality check of how sometimes the government can be out of touch with various sizes of municipalities, many of which don't even have online capability for their meetings yet. But certainly, it sounds like a wonderful idea to then make it that they have to have electronic means for their public hearings. Having said that, since we have no choice, I guess I agree with it.
Well, I don't understand the new section 5.5A, that they can restrict council from holding extra public hearings for the same bylaw or resolution. If council needs more input from the residents after a public hearing, or they feel that they would like to get a better read for what the community really feels, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, I know that some municipalities have had a public hearing and then afterwards, then the opinion, the community was dead against it, and then they changed. So is that what they're trying to do here, is take away the, I don't get it. I mean, why would they restrict council from having choices regarding something that's very important to their community?
Okay, I will answer that question right away, but something that Councillor Warwa said when she said electronic means. Electronic means, the definition is also telephone. Is how that's why we've had to switch to the MGA definition, because their definition means you can also do it by like telephone town hall type thing. So
I am glad to hear that, because that's going to impact communities. Although, once again, when you call in, that is an expense. You don't automatically have all those lines. So still stands to reason that they think everybody is, 10,000 and up. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, and also regarding this, I'm unsure why. I do know that in some of the larger cities, they were holding more than one public hearing. And it's funny because they put this in place, but the workaround is you just recess the meeting till the next day, and you are still continuing on with the same,
You've got through
the
this.
same hearing. Yes, we've,
Okay. Okay, then I'm good with option one. Oh, go ahead, Councilor Rudy.
The only thing I was going to say is Minister McIver just tabled some amendments today to the MGA and the Local Elections Authorities Act. And just doing a quick little cursory scroll through what's included in our procedural bylaw. I don't know that we'll have anything that'll be immediately impactful. However, there are some specific references to eliminating council codes of conduct. Yep. But if we have a procedural bylaw which has a prescribed method for behavior, I think that we're allowed to have that. But anyways, we might want to just take a look at that because there's a few things that he introduced today.
yes, we do have a council code of conduct bylaw. It's separate.
Okay. So at first blush, most of the things that are referenced in here are okay. Yeah. But there are some things that just came out today that might be worth just referencing.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they're going to make us, we have to have this in place before the end of April, so until those are actually passed. And the other thing is after an election, we sit down with council in the new year and redo the council procedure bylaw in every new term. So it's just one of these things that couldn't wait till.
Okay. So are you good with option one?
Yes.
Okay, looks like we're going with option one.
Okay, we'll see this on Monday then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my last one, I promise, will be a quick one. It's the 2025 council calendar. Historically, council decreases the amount of council meetings that are held during July, August, and December. Both summer months and December are not particularly busy time legislatively. The decreased meetings allow for both council and administration to book time off without missing one or more meetings. In the past few years, council has opted to hold one legislative committee meeting and one council meeting in July and August, and cancel the second legislative committee meeting and the second council meeting in December for the holiday season. This calendar is coming up before council to discuss the cancellations of any meetings, and if so, what dates council would like to hold their meetings. Administration is recommending the following: that the legislative committee meetings be held on July 15th and August 12th of 2025, and council meetings to be held on July 21st, 2025, and August 19th, 2025, and to cancel the meetings on December 16th and 22nd, 2025. Once council determines which or if any meetings are canceled and or moved, the new dates will be placed on the council calendar on the town website. So the options before you today: council may accept the 2025 calendar recommendations, or council may decide to make an alternative schedule for the meetings held in July, August, and December, or council may decide not to cancel and or move any meetings in the 2025 council calendar.
Okay, so we'll look at this again on Monday, and after we have a chance to have some look at our own calendars at home. Everybody good with that? Okay,
All right, we'll bring an RCD down on Monday.
thank you. Okay, the Lobster Fest bartending has been, did we receive a letter?
No, sorry, we have not received a letter, and I said I was done, but I'm not. Rotary has, as a Rotarian, Rotary has asked me to ask council if they would be interested in bartending for the Lobster Fest on Thursday, June 12th, 2025.
Which I heard that the chamber has now moved their golf tournament, so,
That's correct, they have.
because it was kind of in conflict, yeah. So, I think that I would be able to do it for sure.
I can't
Yep, so I guess the answer would be, yeah,
Okay, thank you. I will let the Rotary Club know.
yeah. Maybe they could give us one claw this time,
To share between all of you?
yeah. Okay, next up, I guess it's me. So, I'll have it right here in my hand. So, it's a letter from Alberta Health, and it's addressed to Century Park Lodge. It's from the Continuing Care Health Service Standards, and it's addressed to Todd Kitteringham. The Alberta Health Compliance Officer performed an inspection on January 20th, 25, to assess a compliance to the Continuing Care Health Services Standard, at which time outstanding issues were found. The evidence has been reviewed, and we have determined that no further follow-up is required. We look forward to your continued work together. If you have any questions, please contact Mikey Leonard. So this is to the inspection that was done earlier in the year at Century Park Lodge and the management over there, which is new management. They have a new manager over there. And she reached out to me and wanted to assure the community that all the deficiencies and problems that they had seen over there and their last inspection have been taken care of. So I told her I would pass that on to the community. So, and next up, we have a letter from Braden Ferguson with the Vegreville Fire Services. He's the club president for the training center. Dear Mayor McPhee and members of council, on behalf of the Vegreville Fire Service Club, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to you and town council for your continued support of our training center project. As you are aware, in spring of 2024, thanks to the generous community contributions and a strong partnership with the town of Vegreville, we successfully completed phase 1 of our training center. This phase included the installation of 3 customized engineered sea cans, significantly enhancing our training capabilities in firefighting in smoke-filled environments, high-angle rescue, search and rescue, and sprinkler systems operations. We are pleased to provide an update on our progress as we move forward with phase 2 of this project. This phase will include the installation of a 4th sea can procured locally from AA traders and fully funded by our club. It will be secured to the south portion of the existing training center to enhance search and rescue and confined space training. Additionally, we will be introducing propane-filled training props, which will be placed at least 50 feet from any property lines and are equipped with multiple safety features, including shut-off valves and a dead man switch. To further support training operations, we plan to replace a 30-foot by 50-foot section of the existing gravel pad with paved concrete, preventing erosion caused by repeated high-pressure water suppression training. This update will be complete by local contractors and fully funded by the club. As with all our training initiatives, these enhancements will comply with the NFPA 1403 standards to ensure safety and efficiency. With the necessary funding secured and plans in place, we anticipate moving forward with the construction later this spring as weather permits. We appreciate council's ongoing support, and we will continue to keep you informed as the project progresses. Sincerely, Braden Ferguson. Well, that's good. Really good. Okay, next up, roundtable discussions. And I'll ask right now because we are a little pressed for time. Anybody that has some complaints that they want to bring forward that they've heard this week, please raise your hand. Or something that you want to bring to the conversation. Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
I'll be quick. So I did have 2 quick conversations with people that approached me about the public hearing side of it. And these 2 individuals actually had signed the petition, and now they realize that they probably wouldn't have signed it if they would actually understood what they were signing. So that's one thing. The second thing, I was, received a call from a resident regarding the subdivision application down,
Maple Street.
on Maple Street, and just went through it with him, what it meant and stuff like that. He was thinking it was a zoning, and I told him no about how the subdivision application works, and the possibilities in the future, what may be. So he thanked me for the explanation. It was a good conversation. This resident has been known to be pretty hard with council, so, but it went really well, and he asked if I'd just keep him updated, and I said I would, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Riddick.
Just two quick things. Vegreville Transportation Services Society has their old van, their previous van has been replaced with a newer vehicle that you probably have seen about town. But with the new ramp working, the old vehicle has been offered to tender. So you may have seen that it's been offered online. It's an older vehicle. It's got a ton of miles on it. It does have a ramp. It's not as motorized or as convenient as the new one, but there is a public process to be able to evaluate those sealed tenders. So that was put out to the public. And the other thing is this Friday is a ham bingo fundraiser for VTSS from 6 till 10 at the Sunshine Club. So if anybody wants to join and support Vegreville Transportation Services Society to be able to fund the operation of that vehicle, that is this Friday.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, like Councillor Bullock had said, I think we've had a lot of people in this community have reached out regarding the subject of the public hearing, and I just want everybody to know that we appreciate, you know, everybody taking the chance to go, or the opportunity to go back and watch the public hearing, and again, and there's nothing wrong with somebody signing a petition and exercising their democratic right to come here and state what they seem wrong with what we're proposing here. So we will be moving forward, and there'll be news to come about what that development will look like here real shortly. So thank you, those people that came to the hearing, and thank those that watched and have been a little more informed of what the project will entail. So. Okay, that being said, we're going to move on to the director highlights. And we're going to start with Director Lefebvre.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too will make it quick. I just wanted to do a Force Main sewer lift upgrade update from the last report. The total budget, as you know, is 3.83 million. Where we sit now as a project is very close to being completed. We are at a 3.682. So that's $148,000 under budget at this point. We still have about 78,000 remaining in the contract, and we have 68,000 remaining in contingency. And I had talked to council about a second floor manifold that have being made. We're going to replace that. That'll be the last part, and that will be coming out of contingency and probably consume about half of that contingency. And I don't foresee any other issues. So we are still under budget and focusing to be under budget. The last report, there was some inaccurate information that made its way to Director Saskew for the report. So this is your update that shows that we're still on track.
So in that inaccurate information happened to be a credit that had not been applied.
That's correct.
And Director Saskew's department hadn't seen the credit yet. It was downstairs and never made its way up. So this is where we're at with that project. So we will be on target. Thank you very much for that update.
Okay, and the next quick one is the landfill equipment storage building as it nears completion as well. I know that Manager Quigg did discuss it a little bit about where we're at. Our budget total on that building move and setup was $300,000. At this point, we have remaining is a little bit of weather stripping on some doors for $1,000. The 40 by 50 pad that Manager Quigg talked about for about $20,000. We are upgrading the CCTV camera system at that shop because a lot of valuable equipment is sitting out there, and also at the same time updating the landfill in its entirety, all of the information because it's an old system. and then a little bit of exterior skirting that Dan talked about. So when we wrap that up, we'll be at 287,900 with a budget of 300,000.
Excellent. And we've helped with some of their warm winter storage. You know, we know that we're packed up and leaving graders and trucks outside, anything with hydraulics at all, that we need to start and go right away. So it's not the answer, but it can help for the next little while. So thank you very much. Director Saskew.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have just a couple quick things.
No talk about Mexico, okay?
Okay. I have been busy completing the 2024 audit with Wild and Company. I know it's ongoing. So January until the end of April, we are working on it. Council can expect a formal presentation from Corporate Services of the draft financials at the April 22nd legislative meeting, and a presentation from Wild and Company at the April 28th, 2025 council meetings. So the next two ledge and councils will be official audit approval, including some transfers from reserves. All of those RCDs will be coming before you. The financials and related FIR need to be submitted to Alberta Municipal Affairs by April 30th, 2025. So we have a 2-day window. So hopefully everyone is happy with what we present to you. We're also working on the 2025 property tax bylaw. The first draft will be ready for council reviews at the next ledge meeting as well. I will also provide some comparatives for year-over-year numbers, both with and without some of the requisition changes. As we know, the education one went up. The Minburn Lodge and the designated industrial properties, which affects I think 5 tax rolls in the town. Minburn one and that one have actually gone down slightly. So not significant to have a huge change in rate, but it did go down. So I would like to just make note of that. And then I've also been busy with land leases. I've had many calls from many other farmers, and that has been a long list of returning voicemails because all of them call and leave voicemails when I'm in meetings. So we are accepting sealed bids until April 15th, 2025. And from there, we will go about picking the highest bidder and getting formal leases in place for the May 1st start date of these 5-year leases. So that's all I've got.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. CAO Ling.
Okay, so just some highlights since the last legislative committee meeting. Legislative Services has hired a returning officer and the substitute returning officer. Jenny Cooper will be returning as the returning officer, and Natalia Toroshenko will be the new substitute returning officer. Council will see the official RCDs for this on Monday. I attended the Provincials Priority Act webinar put on by Municipal Affairs. This is the act regarding the province reviewing all agreements that municipalities make with the federal government. There were a lot more questions asked than answers were given. So hopefully we'll get some more information on how that all works here in the upcoming months. I attended a virtual meeting with ATCO regarding their transmission capital maintenance plan for 2025 to 2027. Subsequently, I have asked ATCO to present their plan to council in an upcoming legislative meeting. So once we have a date finalized, they will present that to you. The land lease agreement with the Ag Society for the 2025 corn maze has been signed, and we are looking to finalize the event center Quonset portion of the agreement here towards June. FCSS is having to find a new location for the FRN, for those that are not aware. The preschool has other plans for that side of their building, and they will not be renewing the lease at the end of June. So currently the FRN is funded until March of 2026, so our FCSS manager has been working at finding a new suitable location for the program. We have passed our limited scope audit. I would like to thank the Joint Health and Safety Committee, especially Mitch, Sabrina, and Jen, on their hard work these past 2 months. And just to give council an update on municipal enforcement, while I know Manager Newton is sitting here, with the visibilities of the CPOs, I'm sure you've seen them in town. Just to let council know that since the beginning of 2025, they have issued the following. They have issued 10 bylaw tickets. Fine amount on that is $2,569. They have issued 43 traffic tickets. Fine amount on that is $10,158.11. And they've also handed out 25 warnings. Well, warnings don't actually bring in fines. If they would have been tickets, it would have been around $7,000 for that. So in the first quarter, municipal enforcement has brought in $12,727.
Regarding that, I have a question for Manager Newton. When do we expect your speed cameras, to be back in operation?
I can't answer that, Your Worship. That's not my department that maneuvers them. I have been in talks with the department that is responsible. I know due to their short staffness and everything right now, they did advise me it might take a little while, but I could follow up with them and give you a hard date if needed.
Even if we can turn them on again?
If I may, Your Worship, the batteries died, so they had to get new batteries. So even though they're solar, they do have a battery, and the batteries both went within a week of each other. So the new batteries are in, and like Manager Newton said, they're just a little short-staffed over there.
So we're not going to use wind power then? We're going to stick with the solar. That's good. Okay, any questions for CAO Ling? Okay, well, who's doing the food bank pickup on Friday? Counselor, okay, thank you.
That's Walmart too.
Yeah, thank you, and Counselor Riddick for showing up last Friday and helping out. That was nice. Next council meeting is the 14th. We're closed the 18th. Okay. Is there any other business of council? Okay, well, seeing none, we do have a couple of closed session items, so I'd like to get a motion to go into closed session. Councilor Roba makes the motion at 4:42. We will be taking a quick 5-minute break. 5 minutes, please, and we can get back to